If you're watching this right now, get ready, because what you're about to hear is the most intense, emotional, and completely unexpected turning point in the bond between Xiao Zhan and Wang Yibo. In the next few minutes, you will discover the hidden walk by the riverbank that almost no one knew about, the confrontation that changed everything, the confession that nearly broke them apart, and the moment that silently tied their fates together forever. If you stay till the end, you will understand why this single night became the one story their teams tried so hard to erase. This is the kind of revelation that real fans only hear once. Stick around, because what happened under that dim riverbank light will shock you. It began on a night that wasn't supposed to mean anything. A quiet evening in early autumn, when the wind was neither cold nor warm, when the city lights blurred softly across the river surface, and when two people who carried too many unspoken words found themselves face to face again. Xiao Zhan had finished a long day of filming. That day had drained him, body, mind, and everything in between. His manager had warned him not to leave the hotel, not to go anywhere alone, not to risk being seen. But Xiao Zhan wasn't thinking about the fans, or the paparazzi, or even the long list of meetings waiting for him the next morning. There was only one person in his mind. One person he hadn't spoken to privately in months. One person he knew he needed to talk to before misunderstandings swallowed them whole. Wang Yibo had arrived earlier. He was already standing at the riverbank, hood up, hands buried in his pockets, leaning against the railing as if he wanted to blend into the night sky. The moment Xiao Zhan approached, Yibo's posture shifted just slightly, not enough for strangers to notice, but enough for Xiao Zhan to see. He was nervous. Xiao Zhan stopped a few steps away. Neither of them spoke. Only the sound of water brushing the stones filled the silence. Finally, it was Yibo who broke it. "You came," he said without looking up. Xiao Zhan exhaled. "You asked." The tension between them wasn't anger. It was weight, heavy, sharp, and full of emotions that had been bottled for too long. The industry had pulled them apart, schedules had buried them, and silence had turned small misunderstandings into walls. "You know why I wanted to meet," Yibo said quietly. Xiao Zhan stared at him. "Then say it." Yibo turned, eyes meeting his in the cold shimmer of the river lights. "You stopped talking to me." Xiao Zhan felt something sink in his chest. "Yibo, that's not. You avoided me. You ignored my messages. You pretended everything was okay when it wasn't." Each word cut deeper. The way Yibo said them wasn't angry, it was vulnerable. And that vulnerability made Xiao Zhan's breath catch. Because this wasn't the fearless, sharp-tongued Wang Yibo the world knew. This was the one only he had seen, the one who felt deeply but hid it even deeper. Xiao Zhan took a step closer. "I wasn't avoiding you. I was protecting you." "From what?" "From everything," Xiao Zhan whispered. Yibo's eyes softened, but only for a second. "You should have told me." The wind blew past them, carrying away everything but the truth they'd buried for too long. "You think I didn't notice how tired you were?" Yibo said. "You think I didn't hear what people were saying about us? All the rumors, the pressure, the noise." "Xiao Zhan, I knew. I needed you to say something." Xiao Zhan clenched his jaw. He hadn't expected Yibo to understand, yet Yibo had always understood more than he ever admitted. "Do you know what it feels like," Yibo continued, voice low and trembling, "to watch someone who matters to you disappear slowly, day by day, and not know why?" Xiao Zhan froze. Someone who matters. Not a friend, not a colleague, but something heavier, something real. He didn't speak, not because he didn't know what to say, but because his heart had suddenly filled with too many things at once. Yibo shook his head. "It wasn't fair." Xiao Zhan finally found his voice. "And you think it was fair for me? Every time I tried to reach out, something happened. My team, your team, paparazzi, scandals, it felt like no matter what I did, someone got hurt." "Then why now?" Yibo asked. Xiao Zhan swallowed. "Because I'm tired of being scared." The river wind blew harder, as if punctuating his words. Yibo's expression softened, but confusion still clouded his eyes. "Scared of what?" "Scared of losing you," Xiao Zhan said. Silence. Deep, sharp silence. Yibo stared at him, eyes wide. It wasn't the words, it was the rawness behind them. Xiao Zhan wasn't someone who confessed easily. He was careful, thoughtful, deliberate. So when he spoke from the heart, it carried weight. I thought staying away would protect us, Xiao Zhan continued. But all it did was push you further. Yibo blinked rapidly, trying to hide the slight red building at the corners of his eyes. You idiot, he whispered. And Xiao Zhan actually smiled a small, broken smile. Yeah. Maybe I am. Yibo looked away, gripping the railing. I never needed protection. I needed honesty. Xiao Zhan stepped beside him. Not touching. Just near enough for warmth to pass between them. Then tonight, he murmured, I'll say everything I should have said months ago. The confession came slowly at first. Xiao Zhan talked about the pressure, the expectations, the fear of making the wrong step. How he hated reading lies about them, how he hated staying silent, how he hated pretending nothing mattered. But it did matter, he said. You mattered. Yibo's breath hitched. He turned, eyes glassy but defiant. Then why didn't you fight for it? Xiao Zhan didn't hesitate. Because I didn't know if you wanted me to. Yibo stepped forward sharply. I did. I always did. Those words hung between them like electricity. A sudden gust of wind rippled across the river, sending waves crashing gently at the stones. Lights from passing boats flickered across their faces, illuminating the tension, the fear, and the lingering affection neither had dared acknowledge. Xiao Zhan looked down. I'm sorry. Yibo shook his head. No. Don't apologize. Just, don't disappear again. That was when something shifted. Something subtle. Something powerful. Xiao Zhan lifted his eyes slowly. I won't. They stood there, the night closing around them like a secret that only the river would ever witness. The world outside would never understand what this moment meant, not to them, not to the bond they had nearly lost. But the truth is this. Their story changed that night. Yibo reached out hesitantly, not enough to touch, but enough for Xiao Zhan to feel the intent. Then say it, Yibo murmured. Xiao Zhan inhaled. What? That you choose this. You choose us, not because you're scared, not because you feel guilty, but because you want to. Xiao Zhan's voice cracked. I choose you. You could almost hear Yibo's heartbeat in the silence that followed. He looked down, then back up, his expression softening in a way Xiao Zhan had only seen a handful of times. Good, Yibo whispered. Because I never stopped choosing you. And in that moment, under the dim glow of a lonely riverbank, shielded from the world's cameras and chaos, their walls collapsed. Not in a dramatic, cinematic way, but in a quiet, honest moment of two people admitting they needed each other more than they'd ever said aloud. Yibo stepped closer. Xiao Zhan didn't move back. The space between them became warm, charged, full of the words they'd held for too long. Next time, Yibo said, voice barely above a whisper, talk to me before you shut me out. Xiao Zhan nodded. Only if you stop pretending nothing affects you. Yibo smirked, soft, real, unguarded. Deal. They stayed at the riverbank long after the world had fallen asleep. Talking. Laughing quietly. Letting their fears unravel. Letting their bond rebuild itself, stronger this time. By the time they finally walked away, the sun was starting to edge over the horizon, painting the world gold. And the river, once cold and dark, now shimmered like a promise. A walk that wasn't supposed to mean anything had changed everything. And for the first time in months, both of them walked with lighter steps, because they knew their story wasn't over. It was just beginning. The wind shifted again, carrying with it the faint scent of river mist and distant street food vendors. The night was quiet, too quiet for a city that never truly sleeps. And yet, in that silence, something powerful was building between Xiao Zhan and Wang Yibo, something raw enough to swallow the noise of everything beyond the riverbank. Just moments earlier, Xiao Zhan had said the one thing Wang Yibo least expected to hear. I choose you. Those words didn't fade, they echoed. They vibrated in the air as if the river itself wanted to carry them downstream and keep them alive. But the story didn't stop there. Because that confession, though sincere, was only the beginning of the storm that had been brewing inside them for months. Wang Yibo's chest rose and fell sharply. His fingers curled slightly against the metal railing, as if grounding himself. The truth was simple, he wasn't prepared. Not for this level of honesty. Not for Xiao Zhan to suddenly tear down his walls and hand him the truth so openly. He took another breath before speaking. Do you even understand what choosing me means? Xiao Zhan's brows knit slightly, confusion flickering across his features. What do you mean? Yibo stepped closer, not enough to intimidate, but enough for the lamplight to catch the conflicted expression in his eyes. If you choose me, it's not just words. It comes with consequences. Real ones. Xiao Zhan said nothing, waiting. Yibo looked away for a second, jaw clenching. It was rare, so rare, for him to show uncertainty. But tonight, he wasn't the cold, unreadable Wang Yibo the world saw. Tonight, he was a man carrying too much truth with no place to put it. You know how people talk, Yibo said. You know what they say. You know how they twist everything we do. And you know what it did to you last time. The memory stung. Xiao Zhan's shoulders tensed, the shadows under his eyes deepening. He remembered. He remembered everything. The storm. The rumors. The hashtags. The nights he couldn't sleep because one wrong word online spiraled into a wildfire he couldn't control. Yibo had watched him break quietly, so quietly no one else noticed. Xiao Zhan swallowed the ache in his throat. Yibo. I'm not running from the past anymore. That's what I'm afraid of, Yibo muttered. Xiao Zhan frowned. Afraid of what? That you're doing this because you're tired. Because you feel guilty. Because you don't want to lose me. But choosing someone out of fear, that's not real. Another gust of wind hit them hard, rattling the leaves above. The river swayed, shimmering under faint city lights. Xiao Zhan inhaled slowly. Then, unexpectedly, he laughed. Only a little. Not mocking. Just soft. Yibo's eyes narrowed. What's funny? You, Xiao Zhan said gently. You're afraid I don't mean what I'm saying. But Yibo, do you think I came all the way here just to lie to you? Yibo blinked once. Twice. He did not answer. Xiao Zhan turned, placing both hands on the railing beside Yibo's, their knuckles almost touching. I came here because I couldn't hold it in anymore. Because it hurt too much pretending we were okay when we weren't. Because staying silent was crushing me. Yibo's voice steadied. Then why didn't you talk to me earlier? Xiao Zhan exhaled sharply. Because every time I tried, something got in the way. Your schedule. My team. The press. The fans. Everything felt like a wall. And you let it stop you. Xiao Zhan froze. Yibo wasn't wrong. But hearing it out loud, it hit harder than expected. Xiao Zhan looked down at his hands, the veins visible under the light. Maybe I did. Maybe I was scared of making things worse. Then say that, Yibo demanded. Say you were scared. Say you didn't know what to do. Say anything. Just don't leave me guessing. The last sentence slipped out raw, too raw. It cracked something inside Xiao Zhan almost instantly. You think I wanted you guessing? Xiao Zhan whispered. Yibo, I was drowning. And I didn't know how to reach out without pulling you under with me. Yibo's breath caught. There it was. The truth he had suspected, but never heard aloud. The frustration in him softened, replaced by something gentler. Something that made his chest tighten. Then why now? Yibo asked again, quieter this time. Xiao Zhan lifted his head slowly, eyes reflecting the faint golden river lights. Because I couldn't imagine losing you. Not as a partner. Not as a friend. Not as someone who understands me more than anyone else ever has. Yibo's throat tightened. He turned his face toward the river, blinking hard. Xiao Zhan stepped closer, just slightly. I choose you. Not out of guilt. Not out of fear. But because. I want you in my life. No matter what. Yibo let out a shaky breath he didn't realize he'd been holding. The tension in the air didn't disappear, but it transformed like heat melting into something calmer, deeper, more fragile. Xiao Zhan continued, voice soft but certain. I don't care about the rumors anymore. I don't care about the noise. I care about you. Yibo stared at him, searching his eyes for any hesitation. He found none. Slowly, very slowly, his shoulders relaxed. But they weren't done. Not yet. Yibo stepped back slightly, leaning again against the railing. If you choose me, then be prepared. Because I'm not going to let you run again. Xiao Zhan's lips curved. Good. I don't plan to. Yibo tilted his head, studying him. Promise. Xiao Zhan held his gaze. I promise. The wind calmed, as if the world itself paused to acknowledge the weight of that promise. For a while, they both simply stood there breathing, listening to the waves, letting the emotions settle. Everything felt clearer, lighter, stronger. But then Yibo spoke again. A question that brought new intensity to the moment. What happens now? Xiao Zhan turned fully to him, expression firm. Now, we start over. Not as colleagues. Not as a brand. But as us. Yibo raised a brow. Us. Yes, Xiao Zhan said. Us. Something flickered in Yibo's eyes, surprise mixed with relief, mixed with something deeper he didn't want to name yet. Xiao Zhan continued, and next time you feel something, anything, anger, confusion, fear, talk to me. Don't hold it in until we end up like this again. Yibo nodded slowly. Only if you stop disappearing. Xiao Zhan smiled softly. Deal. Suddenly, a sound cut through the quiet. A camera shutter. Both froze. Xiao Zhan's head snapped toward the direction of the sound. Yibo's posture changed immediately, sharp, alert, protective. But when they turned, nothing moved. No footsteps. No shadows. Just wind brushing past bushes. Xiao Zhan's heartbeat raced. Was that? Yibo shook his head. Probably a stray sound. Don't panic. But Xiao Zhan's chest squeezed. What if someone? Zhan, Yibo interrupted, voice steady, look at me. Xiao Zhan did. No matter who saw or heard anything, Yibo said, we deal with it together. Xiao Zhan blinked hard. Together. A word he had wanted to hear for months. The moment settled again. The river resumed its peace. And the two of them stood close, closer than before, letting the night wrap around them like a promise neither dared break. Yibo, Xiao Zhan murmured quietly. Chem. When I said I choose you, I meant every word. Yibo's expression softened in a way that made the city lights behind him blur. I know. But then, with a hint of a smirk that only Xiao Zhan could interpret, Yibo added, just don't make me drag the truth out of you next time. Xiao Zhan laughed, a real, warm laugh that loosened the remaining tension inside him. I'll try. No, Yibo corrected. You'll do. And for the first time that night, everything felt right. The misunderstanding had cracked them. But the truth was knitting them back together, slowly, honestly, powerfully. As they turned to walk along the riverbank, side by side, the city began to wake around them. The sky shifted from deep blue to pale gray, hinting at dawn. Their footsteps matched. Their silence was comfortable. And though neither spoke it aloud, they both knew. This walk had changed everything. Not because of a dramatic scene. Not because of a public moment. But because, in the quiet, in the raw honesty of night, two people finally said what they truly felt. And from that moment on, their story was no longer built on rumors or distance. It was built on truth. If you loved this dramatic continuation of the Riverbank Confession, make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your support helps the channel grow. Now tell me in the comments. Do you think Xiao Zhan meant it when he said I choose you? Was Wang Yibo right to confront him that night at the riverbank? Which part of this continuation shocked you the most? Drop your thoughts below. I'll be reading and replying to every comment.